Hello everyone. In this video and the next 3 videos, I decided to share with you the important commands and basic commands that you use in Linux. And since they are about like 40 commands, I decided to break it into 4 videos, especially because these commands belong to different categories for different purposes, like for file management, for getting data from the internet, for date, time, for lots of different purposes. So I decided to break it into 4 separate videos. So this is the first one, and we are going to focus on file and directory management. Okay, so starting with the first command, this is called pwd, and it is used for printing the working directory. So if I just simply say pwd, you see that the working directory for me is home under my name. So if I go here and go under home, you can clearly see that this is the place that I'm working right now, and everything I read and write will be from this current folder. Okay, so that is pwd. The next command we have is ls, list, which does the same job as dir did in DOS or in Windows. So it shows you the content, the files and the folders within your current directory. So if I say ls, you see it shows me all the folders and files in my home, and the folders are blue and the files are white, so they have color code. Okay. Now, this command has tons of options, right? So I showed you in my first video, if you just say ls:\help, you're going to see that it has a ton of options from -a all the way to -z and -1. Here, I only show you 2 of them that are commonly used. One of them is ls-l. This one shows you more information about the files and folders, including the size, including who made them, and the time and dates they are modified and so on. Okay, and it only shows the visible ones. If you want to see the invisible ones, you have to say ls-a, and this one will show you the hidden ones as well. So you see now this, you have a lot more than when you simply just say ls, right? Clearly you have a lot more than that. And if you want to see these hidden files with the extra information like this, you can say ls and then -l and then -a. Okay, and that should give you everything all together and with more information. And as I showed you, you can combine these 2 options, -l and a, into one and say ls-la, and that does the same job. Okay, so again, this ls has tons of options. Here we just want to see the most common ones. And by the way, this command clear, you know that I clean the terminal. So these are the first 2 commands. Now, if you want to see the content of the current directory, but in a graphical way, like a tree, there is the command tree. Now, first time, if you have not installed the tree, this is not going to run and ask you to install it. That happened to me too. I type tree and it says install it, and then I install it. So now when I run it, you can see that it shows me the content of my current directory all the way down to the lowest level. Okay, so you see that I have this, goes to downloads, go to LPG4, and this is the folder I downloaded from the author of one of my references. Okay, as you know, and I mentioned, my sources here for my videos on Linux are coming from 2 good books that are very easy to understand, and they are not really big major books. So if you go here and go to my playlist Linux, let me just show you that. You can see one of them is called Linux for Beginners by Felix John, and the other one is called Linux Pocket Guide by Daniel Barrett. And this LPG4 folder, which has tons of files, demos, this comes from the second source, Linux Pocket Guide. It's a small book and it's really useful. Okay, if you want to buy it, I totally recommend that. So you see here with the tree, I'm showing you all the way down to all of the levels. Now, if you don't want to see all of this, you just want to go down to so much of level, not all the way down, you can say, hey, give me tree and then dash capital L and 2. So go down only to level 2, and you see now if you compare what you have this time as opposed to what you had last time, all of this, you see that it only went down to so much level, and it gave you only to level 2 information, not all the way to the last level. Okay, so tree is kind of like LS, but a basically graphical way, and it shows you everything to any level that you like, but you have to install it. The next command we have is cd, or change directory. Right now I'm in the home directory, but remember that there are a bunch of folders underneath this, like downloads folder, music, so on. So let's say I want to go to downloads folder and make that my current directory. I simply say cd and then downloads. Okay, and there we go. Now I'm in downloads. If I look at my content, you see it's completely different from last time, right? I have LPG4, I have this Linux training dot, right? I have this basic command that I made, and a bunch of other things. Okay, so now I'm in directory downloads, and you see there is another directory, LPG4. Can I go in that? Yes. All I need to say is go to LPG4. Make sure that you type everything correctly, because this is case sensitive. Okay, there we go. Now I'm in that folder, and I can read and write from there. Good. So here, going all the way to some inner folder. Now if I want to go back to downloads or back to the home, can I do it? Yes. If I want, I can go one folder at a time using cd space ... and there we go. I go back one level, and I repeat it, I go down another level. Or what I can do is I can basically go to downloads and then LPG4, right? So I go directly there, and you see here I can go all the way directly there. Instead of one level at a time, I just put the whole address with forward slashes. So I'm there. Now if I want, I can go all the way back 2 levels, or as many levels as there is, just by saying cd and nothing else. And you see now it directly gives me, it takes me back to home. Okay, so this is changing folders, cd. Okay, so now that we have seen this, let's move on to the next command. So let's say here you want to copy. You want to copy something from somewhere, or you want to move something from somewhere to somewhere else. You can do that, right? And then I want to show you how to make an empty blank folder or a blank file, and then how to remove them, and so on and so forth, how to search them. These are the things that you're going to see today. So first, let's just make an empty folder, and then we're going to copy something from home. Remember, home has a bunch of files. So let's say, for instance, this file here called log.txt. I'm going to copy this from this home directory to now a new folder that I'm going to make, and I call it, for instance, test folder or something, a blank folder, and I'm going to copy this into that folder. So first thing first, let's go ahead and make a blank folder. How do we do that? The command is called mkdir, mkdir, okay? Make a directory. And all you need to provide is the name of it. So here I call it test folder. Okay, yeah? So I call it test folder, mkdir, and I enter that. Now, is that made? Well, let's find out. Look, can you see it? It's called test folder, right? Sorry. So here we go. That's test folder. Can I see it if I go here? Absolutely. Look here. Test folder. And you see there is nothing in it, right? Now here I want to copy this log file, right? This one. I want to copy this that I made in my first video. I want to copy it into this test folder. So how do I do that? So now that I made the folder, I use the command copy. Okay, and copy does work with the CP, so you don't need to type the whole copy. Okay, so first thing you need to provide after CP is the name of the file to be copied. So I say go ahead and cp log text, copy that, and then you need to provide the location it will be copied to. So what do you want to do? Here I say copy it to test folder and then /. So now it is going to copy it with the exact same name and it is going to paste it to the test folder. Okay, now did it do it? Well, let's go ahead and check. So here, look, there we go. It's copied there. Did the same job as Control-C, Control-P, huh? So here is copying, correct? Okay, so let me show you something more interesting. So now you might say that, there we go. You might say that, well, what if I want to copy it to that folder, but I want to give it a new name? Can I rename it during the copying? Sure. So hey, go ahead and copy log.txt to the test folder, but instead of log.txt, call it new log.txt. Okay, so content is the same, but the name is different, renamed. Would that work? Well, let's go ahead and find out. So here we go to the home and we go to the test folder, and look, now I got the new log.txt, and you see it's the same as the previous one, just renamed, right? There we go. So here is copying it with a different name. Okay, now is that all the copy can do? No, copy has a lot of options. Like what? One of them is -r. So if you do -r is what we call recursive. So cp-r does a recursive copying. What does recursive means? Recursive basically means that this operation of copying includes if you copy a directory, let's say, it will include copying the whole directory and all of its content, any subfolder, any file that is in it will be copied to the new location, okay, down to the very last level. If you don't do that, it might fail and not copy everything in that folder. Okay, so if you want to copy a folder somewhere and that folder has a lot of content, the recommendation is always what? Always use a recursive one. For instance, let's say here under home, I go to downloads. Let me first go to downloads, and here I want to copy something to something else, right? So let's say here I go to downloads and I want to copy one of these folders, right? So you see here I have this LPG4. Now I want to copy this LPG4 to a new folder, maybe here or elsewhere in a different location, maybe under homes, and I want to copy everything in that LPG because you see itself has a bunch of folders and each folder can have a lot of files and everything. So if I want to copy this LPG4 from under downloads and copy it to home here, and I can rename it or have it the same name but copy every content of it, what should I do? So okay, so what do we do? So this is what we do. We say cp and then -r, you want to copy everything. Then since the LPG4 is already in the downloads, I don't need to provide anything behind it. So now it needs to go to a folder under home. So do I say home / the new name? No. For home, you use a tilde. You say tilde / and then what? The new name. So let's say what? LPG4 new. Okay, so now that whole folder with everything in it recursively is copied to LPG4 new, but under what? Under home. Well, let's go ahead and see what it does. So here we did that. Now if we go here, remember this is where it was under downloads. Now let's go to home. Look, now you have what? LPG4 new, and guess what? It has all of the content. Okay, so this is copying recursively. Okay, other options beside that for copying everything, yes. Another one is -I. This one basically prompt you before overwriting. Okay, so if I want to do it interactively and ask for permission whether you want to overwrite it or not, let's see what I do. So here, look, if I say cp-i-r means recursively copy it, but interactively ask me for permission whether you want to overwrite a content or not. Look here, if I enter, then for each and every one of the components or pieces in this folder, it is gonna ask, and you have to say yes, yes, yes. Okay, and this is gonna take forever, especially if you have a big folder. Okay, so that's not a good idea if you have a ton of things. So another thing you can do is, if you want to give a yes to all of this, is you do this one. You say yes and then give it a pipe and then cp everything. This means, hey, in answer to the questions that you ask whether I should do it or not, guess what? I am going to say yes to all of them. This way, you're not going to get all of those questions, and you see, done. And now you don't need to be bothered again, and everything now should be overwritten over this one. Okay, and you see that this one is copied right underneath it. Okay, so this LPG one, by the way, is from a previous one where I did not approve to be overwritten, so it was basically added without overwriting. Okay, so this is what this is, copy with I and R, and there is more. Another one that you can do is -U, and this is copies if this new file that you're copying is newer than the old one. So if there is the same content, it will replace it only if this file with the same name has been modified later than the one in the destination. And there is another one which is .v, and this is for verbose. So here, look, if I do it with -R but do a -v, okay, so you see now it shows everything for me. It's a verbose, and it is showing everything. So most of the time you don't need that -v, okay? You just want to copy it, and you don't want to get all of those writings. Okay, so this is what this is, copying a folder or a file, and recursive, interactive, verbose, and so on and so forth. Okay, now another thing you can do, which we do in Windows, instead of Control-C, Control-V, we do Control-X. We do a cut and paste, or a move, basically. Let's say I want to move this log file from home. I want to move it to the downloads, okay? I want to move it. I don't want to copy that. So how would you move something? Right now I'm in downloads already, so that file is not here, right? And I can go back, for instance, and now from my current directory I want to take this and move it to the downloads. So the command for moving is mv. mv will move, and it can also rename during a move. And also it has -I, -v, and -u, similar to the copy. Okay, so let's say here, as I said, I want to move something. What is it that I want to move? It's log.txt. And where does it go? It is gonna go under downloads, right? And let's say like this. So would this move it? Well, let's go ahead and see. So is it here anymore? No, you see, it's gone. Is it here now? Yes, it is. You see? So this is the cut and paste. It moved it. And you can do the similar thing for the basically the folders too, and you can also rename them. So if this name that I provided was, instead of this, I said, for instance, log new.txt, it moved it, but it renamed it to log new instead of log. Okay, so you can also do the renaming when you copy or when you move something. Okay, so now that we learned how to make an empty folder, how to copy, how to move, now what about a file? How can I make an empty file? So let's say now I want to make a new file under home, right? Call it log. Now that I moved the log, call it log. I want to make a new text file. How do I do that? And blank. Well, one such command is touch. The command touch can do the job for you. So it can create or update, okay, a file timestamp. But here we want to just create an empty file. So I say what? Touch log.txt. Well, would that create a empty file called log.txt for me? Well, let's go ahead and see. Look here. And if we go and go home, look here. And you see that it's blank, it's empty. You see that? So I can do it with the touch command here. Now, is that the only way to create an empty file like a text file? No. There are other ways that we can also do it. Like what? One of them is with the redirections. If you remember the previous video, I talked about redirections. This means basically sending something out, right? And here, let's say I call this log1.txt. So what does this one do? Would that really create a new file empty called log1.txt for me? Well, let's find out. So we did it, and look, there we go. You see log1.txt. Look here. So I can make something like that as well with the redirection. For this is to basically overwrite, if you remember, and if you have double arrow, that means to append. The other thing I can do it with the echo command. Remember, echo can create something on the screen, and we're going to see that again in the next video. But if we want, we can just say, hey, go ahead and write nothing, and this nothing, go ahead and send it to a new file called log.toText. Okay? And so now we have this new file log2. There we go. And this one still has nothing in it because inside those quotations I provided nothing, a space. Okay, the only thing I did is a space here, and there we go. So you see, I have what? I have created all of this. Now let's talk about something else about this touch. So right now, if I say ls.l, right? Look at the log.txt, you see here, 12:59, November 18, and so on. If I run it one more time, this one, what's going to happen? Is that going to give me two of that? No, it's the same file. It's not going to give me another one. But if I go ahead and run the ls.l again, what would you see about this log? You see now it's November 18, 1303, as opposed to last time that was 12:59. So what did it do? It updated the timestamp of the file. Okay, so if the file does exist, it will update the timestamp of it. Okay, yeah, that's one thing. The next thing you might ask is, well, you made an empty text file, fine. Can you make a blank or empty PDF file? Or a Liber document, right? This guy here, the LibreOffice writer, can you make one? Well, the thing is this. Yes, I can make any file with any extension, but it doesn't mean it has really the format that that software can really read and open. So here I can say, hey, go ahead and make some empty.pdf file for me. Okay, yes, and it does. Look, it's this guy here. Now, would this file be read with an Acrobat or something? Probably not. Okay, or if you make something with this one, make something like .odt or something, right? Would that work? So for instance, if I go ahead and say make a blank .odt, let me do that. So touch something called blank.odt, right? And you see it does that, right? But if I go ahead and try to open it in here and go to my downloads, right? DC, remember it was in downloads, right? Or it is in home, sorry. Let's go back to home. So it was this blank ODT, huh? You see that it read it in, but it doesn't necessarily mean that file had the real format of a Word document, right? Because you see that the shape of this is different from this one. But sometimes it can open it, sometimes what? It cannot. So for instance, if I have a, let's see if I have any PDF reader or anything, something like this, document viewer, right? So can I open this guy here, which I called the empty.pdf? You see that it's not in here, right? So, but look at this one, that is an actual PDF, it can open it. But if I go here under home, you see it cannot recognize that. Okay, so not always when you make a blank or empty file, it means that although you gave it that extension, it is now a real PDF. But can you convert this empty one into an actual PDF file so it can be used? Well, maybe you can, but you need to use a converter. So you can say echo and then, hey, do nothing, and pipe, and then PS to PDF, and then dash, and then empty.pdf, right? So would this convert it to an actual PDF? Okay, so let's see here. You see the format changed. It kind of looks like a PDF now, or maybe it is. So let's go ahead and see if we can open now this guy. So if we go to home, you see now it recognizes empty PDF, and you see it's a blank PDF. So here I have to use something like this converter, PS to PDF, to convert it into a PDF for me. Okay, and if you want to do the blank document to an actual Liber, right, so you can read it with LibreOffice, then there is this guy, and I don't want to do it right now, but you can do it. It's called convert to, and then dash convert to, and then ODT. Okay, and this is convert. So this can convert a blank document that you made into an actual format for LibreOffice. Okay, now that we have seen this touch about creating empty files and updating the timestamp, if you say, well, does this touch have any option as well? Yes, it does. One of the option it has is -C. -C will not create an empty file if it basically does not exist, or actually if let me show you in an example. So here, remember, I made a log.txt, right? So let's do that log.txt again. So touch, and then we say log.txt, right? But before that, I'm gonna use a -C, and you see that it has no problem. Okay, so it was there, it created it, no problem. Now if I go ahead and delete this and rerun that command again, Okay, now what? Would that create it? Well, let's go and see. You see, now it didn't create it. Last time it did, if I didn't do -C. But now that I do -C, it did not create it. Let's look at this one again. Okay, you see here, right? But if this one does not exist and I run it with -C, it's not going to create it. So basically -C is mostly for just updating the timestamp, and if the file is not there, it's not going to make a new one. If you don't use -C, then it will create a new one if it does not exist. And there is also touch-T, and you can give it a timestamp that you want instead of it using the time and date from the computer clock. Okay, so yes, touch does have some options too, but here I just want to keep it brief. Okay, now what about deleting something? We have created, we have copied, we now want to be able to delete. How can we delete? Well, one command to delete files or folders is called rm, remove. And this remove can do -R, which is again recursively deleting everything. It can do -F, which means force deleting without asking for confirmation, and -I, which means ask for confirmation, interactive confirmation. Okay, so let's say I want to remove this log1.txt. So I say remove log1.txt, and boom, look, it's gone. You see, so it just simply deleted it. Now, if I say, let's get rid of log2. So I say do that, but first -I, and then log2. Okay, so delete it, but interactively. So say, hey, do you want me to remove it? And you say yes, and there we go, it's gone. Okay, so you can ask it to basically remove that for you. Now let's go ahead and for instance, this test folder, right? I want to get rid of this test folder, or here I can just make another copy of this, and I want to get rid of that. So let me do something. I would like to move these two files and put them in the test folder, right? So now it's not empty, and I want to get rid of this folder that has information in it. Can I do that? Sure. How? So this is what I say. I say remove, and then -R, make sure it removes everything, and then it was called test folder, correct? So the name is, let me close this, and this one, and then yes, it is called test folder. Go ahead and get rid of everything. Now if you go and look, you see test folder is all gone. Okay, yeah, so it removed everything from that. And then there is another one that is called remove a dir, and that is when you want to remove an empty directory. So if you have an empty one, you can go ahead and what? You can go ahead and remove it. So let me make an empty one here. So make a test folder that is empty, and you see that now the test folder should be created, right? It's empty, and now I want to remove it, so I say rmdir and then the test folder. Okay, and you see that it's gone. Okay, now if I go back and make it again and put some files in it, like for instance, I guess this one was good, or maybe this one of them, yeah, they're a copy of each other. So I'm gonna put this back into the test folder. Now can I remove it now with mkdir? You see it says, hey, I cannot delete it. Why? Because it's not an empty folder. So remember, the rm could take care of it, whether it was anything in it or not, but make rmdir is only to get rid of empty folders. Okay, now you might ask this question: if rm does removing, it takes care of any folder whether there is anything in it or not, and rmdir only removes empty ones. Why do we even need this? Doesn't it look like redundant? It is right, that's correct actually, because this one does the job of this one and itself, so this one is pure redundant, and it's mostly kept for like legacy. It has some interesting thing to it, and the interesting is this is a little bit safer. I mean, this one is very powerful, it gets rid of everything, so some of those content maybe you need and you should not just be removing. This one says, hey, I'm not gonna do it unless it's empty. Okay, this one, it does it unless you it does not ask you for anything unless you say -i. It goes ahead and deletes everything whether you need it or not, so this could be very powerful. This one is make sure it's empty before deleting it. But in terms of redundancy, yes, it is redundant. It does not really serve much of a purpose if you use rm properly. Okay, the last command that I want to show you is find. What does find do? Finds basically locates the files that have a matching condition, pattern, extension, anything. So let's say I want to find any file in this folder that has a .txt extension, right? So right now, look, I only have one, but I want to find it, and here you see this file does not even have a text extension, but I can go ahead and make a few right before doing anything. So let me go ahead and make a few with the touch. So let's make this, and then let's make another one with log1, maybe another one with log2. Okay, so I made 3 text files. Now in this folder, I want to only find the ones that have what? .text extension. So what do I say? I say find, and then .-name, and then basically star.txt, and close the quotation mark. And you see here it says no such file or directory. Okay, so what do we do here? If we want to find all of the files with the .txt extension, well, we can simply say that, hey, go ahead and find, and then dot, that dot basically means the current directory, and then we say that -name, and then inside the double quotation star.text. That star.text means anything that is ending with .text. Okay, so anything name-wise that sits here in the place of that star and ends with .txt, go ahead and find it in the current folder, right, in the current directory. So if I do that, it is gonna give me a ton of it. Why? Because it goes down all the way to the maximum depth, and anything inside any of those folders or subfolder that has a .txt, it is going to return all of them, including of course log.txt that I made, or log1 or log2, but it is going to give me everything. So if you don't want that and you just want to see the ones that are on the top level, you have to provide a depth, otherwise it's going to go all the way down. Okay, so here I provide this. I say find dot, and then I provide one extra option, max depth. Go ahead only to max depth, what? 1, and find the name. And look, now you only get these 3. So you don't need to go all the way to everything. You only find the ones that have so much of depth in them. Okay, so this is what? This is -name. That provides you the kind of name that you need to look for and the extension, right? So this is a pattern. You can look at depth. You can find something with a type. So for instance, if you are only searching for files of some name or only directories of some name, you can add this extra option. Look, You can say, hey, I want the type to be F. What does it mean? It means only the files of the ones that have .txt in them or anything. Okay, so only those. Of course, files are txt, so if I do that again, it's gonna give me all of those things. But now we don't have a folder of .txt, but if I just, for the sake of demonstration, I make it directory, type directory, okay, it's not going to return anything because I don't have any directory with an extension. Okay, but if you're looking for a specific thing like a few letters in the name or something, let's say the first 3 letters are starting with something specific, we can just change it. Let me show you that one. So look here, I can say very similar thing, but for basically this part here, the name, instead of saying star.txt, I say what? I say whatever the first 3 letters are, let's say log, and then star. That means anything that starts with the first 3 letters of log and whatever comes at the end, and the file, the type of that content should be a file. Okay, go ahead and give me that. And actually it finds a bunch of things here for you. So let me provide an extra thing here to limit it again to a max depth of 1. So there we go. Only these 3 files start with log, their name. Now if I change it to a directory, is there a directory that starts with log? Okay, and you see there is nothing. So whatever you want, you type it there, and then with the star means everything else. Okay, so this is how you can search it here. You might say, well, you showed me what happens if the first 2, 3 some letters are known and the rest of it we don't know. Or what if we know the last part of it, the extension, we don't know the beginning of it? Fine. What if you only know the letters 2, 3, and 4? 2, 3, and 4 are log, and the rest of it I don't know. So it's not the beginning that you know or the end, it's the middle that you know, the rest of it you don't. So let's say only letters 2, 3, 4 are log, the first one I don't know, the rest of it I don't know. What would you do? So since the first one is unknown, use a question mark. Okay, if you use a question mark, means hey, I don't know the first one, the next 3 are log, and the rest of it is a star. I don't know. Look, there is no such a thing. Okay, yeah. But if I just made something, let's say I said touch, and I don't know, mlog.text, right? So just let's go ahead and make something, right? So now it should be able to find this one, huh? Let's try that. There we go. You see? Now letters 2, 3, and 4 are log. The first one I don't care, the rest of it I don't care. Okay, so you see that this question mark can help you as well as the star. And 2 more options before we finish this video. One of them is, what if you want to find any file or folder that has a size of bigger than, let's say, 100 megabytes or something? Is there anything that I can find a large folder, a large file? Can I do that? So here I can say find, and then /var, and then I want the let's say dash type F, so I want it to be, or dash type D, I want a directory var, and then I want dash size to be +1 megabyte. Okay, and you see it found all of the things that are under var here, right? And they are all above 1 megabyte. Now if you get rid of this part, So you just go to the current directory. You see it has this guy, right? So here you can you can find the ones that are in a specific location with the specific ties and with the specific size. And finally you can check the ones that are, for instance, basically they have been modified within the last day or so. There is this option that you can add, and that is m time and then 1 or something. Okay, so -1. So you can do that one, and then there is another thing you can do. You can delete some files. So let's say here, remember that I found this kind of file, right? I found the ones that have the second, third, and fourth as log. Okay, can I say dash and then say delete? Would that get rid of them? Well, let's go and see. Remember, it was mlog. Look, it's not here. So I could find it, and then I could what? I could delete it. Okay, so there are so many different ways that you can work with the find and get a bunch of things done. So hopefully this video was useful to you. Now you see why I broke down this basic commands into 4 videos, because this first 10, 11 took about 40 something minutes. So you're gonna see 3 more of this where I show you other useful and basic commands, important commands in Linux. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.